ladies and gentlemen, and there is yet another reason for concern in the ongoing pandemic. A lethal version called Delta variant of coronavirus, which was detected last year in October, is wreaking havoc in many parts of the world. New study by India's premier healthcare facility, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, suggests that this strain is capable of infecting people even after they have received both doses of Covaxin or Covishield, as the case may be. The study, which is based on an analysis of 63 symptomatic patients, concluded that nearly 77% of infections by the Delta variant were recorded in people who had received a single dose and 60% in people who had received both doses of vaccination. Apart from this, the variant is affecting the children more rapidly than its predecessors. In fact, the Delta variant cases in the United Kingdom alone are found to infect more people in the age group of 12 years to 20 years. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Is it time to close the vaccine gap? That's the question and the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 2 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Dr. N.K. Mehra, Honorary Emeritus Scientist, ICMR. Also joining me tonight, Dr. Sharat Chandra, Professor, Neurosurgery, All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Dr. Harsh Mahajan, Founder and Chief Radiologist of Mahajan Imaging. But my first question goes to Dr. Arvinder Singh Swain, Chairman of the Liver Transplantation and Regeneration Wing of the Medanta Hospitals. And Dr. Swain, my question to you is, the Delta variant is the new scare. Given that most countries where this has already begun to impact younger people in the age group of 12 to 20, do you think the current advisory on the distance between the two doses of vaccination, especially in Covishield, should be 12 weeks? That needs a relook almost immediately?
So, Navika, there is a mixture of many facts there. So, first of all, yes, the Delta variant seems to be more transmissible. People are getting infected much easier. It may even be more severe. People are going with moderate and severe disease to the hospitals more. And yes, there have been some publications, mostly not peer-reviewed and mostly small number of patients, which show that it may not be possible to protect oneself against the Delta variant with just one dose of the vaccine. But 2 doses still protects you. You see, what's basically dying to happen is that we need large data from the Indian digital platforms in which people who have been vaccinated and people who have had the infection is stored. So we need to have data in millions saying that so many million had vaccination, so many thousands had infection. This was the genomic sequencing result, whether it was the Delta variant or the Alpha or the Beta variant. So many had moderate or severe disease. So that data is something that is missing. The AIIMS study that you cited is a small study, which is more like an observational study. It's not even peer-reviewed. It's only on 63 patients. We've vaccinated crores of people. We've had crores of infections. You know, this is a test for digital India. I mean, we should be getting, I'm sure we'll be getting large data soon, I'm sure. And then we will know better.
Well, Dr. Sharat Chandra from AIIMS tonight. Dr. Sharat Chandra, is this worry about the Delta variant not as potent, given that the data study, Dr. Swain says, is just too small to come to an independent conclusion that the Delta variant is more lethal and impacts younger people more, and that it can pierce or breach the 2 vaccine cover that many people may have?
So thank you for asking that question, and I'll ask you to give me a couple of minutes so that I can take a more holistic approach. See, first of all, we need to understand that COVID is an RNA virus, and we have experts here, Professor Mehra, who will tell us that RNA virus almost always mutates. because it's got an enzyme RNA polymerase which can go on creating copy variations. That's the first reason. Second reason is there is a certain amount of immune pressure. So as and when a certain amount of populations are getting vaccinated, the virus perceives a threat, and it's a race between the virus and the survival of the human beings. And we are coming up with new variations. NIV has identified a variation. There is a variation which is coming up in Vietnam, which is a mixture between alpha and delta. Now, the second point which I want to emphasize is that perhaps we have some unnatural expectations out of the COVID vaccine. So look at vaccine profile for other diseases. Polio. You give vaccination, they could still continue having infections, but yes, they are protected from paralytic or severe complications. Measles, they are saved from severe complications, but still they could have infection. They still could be transmitting infections to other people. Now, saying all this, Lancet has come up with a study. We are all well aware of the study, that whether, irrespective of the fact whether we keep the gap at 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 12 weeks, the amount of severity of disease is reduced equally in all this group of populations. And this is an important fact to note. And we also know that longer the gap, the better is the immunogenicity which is created. Now, I personally feel that having a longer gap might provide us an advantage which could outweigh the benefit, or might provide us an advantage which could cover a large population base in a short period of time. And this could outweigh the benefit of few people catching infection between the first and the second dose. But obviously, my statement has to be supported.
So that's a very important, peculiar Indian requirement. So Dr. Harsh Mahajan, that's a peculiar requirement that suits India. But why across the world are we seeing people expressing the concerns and reducing the gap between the two doses? Is it better to have a larger coverage of one dose, or is it better to cover possibly fewer but have a double dose of protection?
Thank you, Navika, for this question. Professor Sarath has put things in context. But I must say that the UK had increased the gap to 12 weeks, and they did take the route that let's vaccinate as many people with one dose as possible as quickly. And that was the time when the Delta variant wasn't around, or we thought it wasn't around. Now, as you see, in the UK, amongst the variants, 60% of all infections are the Delta variant, and very quickly, they have decided to reduce the gap between the two doses and bring it to as close as they want. Instead of 12 weeks, it will be much lesser now. So that is because it has been shown that one dose does give you some immunity, some protection, but the two doses give you much better protection. And that is why, since they have the vaccine available with them, in storage, they can actually try to bring that quicker, and that is what they are doing. In India, at the present point of time, we don't have the luxury, especially as far as Covishield is concerned, where we can go to 12 weeks, and as Professor Sarath has said, that gives higher efficacy. With the Covaxin, in any case, you have to vaccinate between 4 to 6 weeks. You can't prolong it any longer. So I think for us.
So Dr. Mehra, are we looking at a possible Delta variant bringing in a third wave, impacting younger people? And does our current strategy of a larger gap between the two doses actually work for India? Because that is the moot question that viewers are worried about today.
Navika, today is 9th June. It's exactly 6 months after Margaret Keenan got the vaccination for the first time. And today we have already given 1.7 billion doses around the world. I think three things are very important from the Delta strain point of view. Number one, we know that it is more infectious. Number two, we know that it also has the breakthrough infection. And number three, it has greater immune escape. However, you have to see from population to population. What works in England may not be true in the population of India. the population of India have been talking for the last more than a year, is that we have been exposed to such a high microbial load. And look at what we have seen it in also in Dharavi and all. Our immune levels are a little more broad-based. We may not face the same issue that the UK is facing. After all, UK in that paper of March 6 in Lancet had a pooled data of 4 different trials. And those trials indicated very clearly that if we increase the gap to 12 weeks is going to be beneficial for you from the point of view of creating higher neutralizing antibodies and from the point of view of having more efficacy there. Now they want to go back to 8 weeks. And this is the data that the Public Health England has come up with. They have seen that the more severity, they have seen more of hospitalization, and they've seen that the efficacy of one dose is less. Now, your question whether it's going to be affecting the children, I don't think there is any data so far. I'm not here to sort of frighten our people in India. They're the Delta variant. After all, you see what happened in January and February in UK. They were going through the Alpha variant over there. Alpha variant was more infectious.
That's a very, very valid point, Doctor. That data is something that is still awaited. The jury is still out on the speed and on the effect on children. No need to panic just yet. Watch this space because we have the best doctors and the best scientists. We're watching this space. And as and when things come up, newer studies come up, more data comes up, we'll keep you informed. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on debate number 2. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me on the News Hour.